Throw away everything you know about the American dream. I'm completely serious. This ingrained idea that you have to own a home to be considered wealthy or successful, it's quite possibly the biggest and most damaging lie preventing you from achieving genuine financial freedom. It's a belief system built on an old dusty rulebook from a bygone era. A rulebook that insists success is a sprawling house with a white picket fence. But the world has changed. The economic game has been completely rewritten, and the rules are fundamentally different now. In the next few minutes, I'm going to pull back the curtain and show you the secret math that proves why strategic renting can actually make you significantly richer than owning a home in 2026. We are going to meticulously break down the real, hard numbers side by side and expose the insane, hidden costs that homeowners almost never talk about publicly. And you have to watch until the very end because I will reveal the biggest phantom cost of owning a home. An expense so massive it could single-handedly be the difference between retiring as a millionaire or being forced to work until you drop. This isn't just about saving a couple of bucks here and there. This is about a radical paradigm shift in how you think about, build, and access your wealth. Let's be brutally honest. You've felt it, that overwhelming, suffocating pressure from society that says renting is for college kids and recent graduates, and that to be a real adult, you have to grow up and buy a house. We've had the phrase renting is just throwing money away drilled into our brains since we were children. Our parents did it, their parents did it, and it's presented as the definitive pathway into the middle class. The moment you get those keys, you've supposedly won the game of life. And this belief isn't just about money. It's deeply, powerfully emotional. It's tied into the primal dream of stability, of owning a place that's 100% yours. It's about the freedom to paint a wall a crazy expressive color without begging a landlord for permission. It's the wholesome vision of your dog playing happily in a fenced-in backyard and hosting your entire family for the holidays. Homeownership isn't sold to us as a financial transaction. It's sold to us as the master key to a happy and fulfilled life. This entire idea was forged in a completely different economy. In the post-World War II era, buying a house was not only achievable for a single-income family, but it also became a powerful symbol that you were doing well. For decades, it was a virtually automatic pathway to building wealth. The formula was simple. You bought a house, you diligently paid your mortgage, and you retired with a super valuable asset that had appreciated significantly. That was the playbook, and for a very long time, it actually worked flawlessly for millions. But we have to be brave enough to ask the tough question, does that 70-year-old playbook make any sense in the economic reality of 2026? The pressure to buy today is absolutely insane. It comes from our families, from our friends posting their glossy new house keys on Instagram, and from an entire industry that generates billions of dollars from mortgages, commissions, and fees. We're subtly, and not so subtly, made to feel like failures if we're still renting in our 30s. This intense pressure creates a massive, anxiety-fueled fear of missing out, FOMO, pushing perfectly rational people to spend every last penny they have, and then some, just to get on the property ladder, often without even understanding the true financial commitment they're making. It's this powerful emotional trap that blinds us from seeing the even more powerful secret that's hiding in plain sight. So what if that old rulebook isn't just outdated, but actually financially dangerous? What if blindly following the old rules is now the fastest way to lose the wealth-building game? The financial world of 2026 is a completely different beast from the one our parents and grandparents knew. And it's high time we looked at the cold, hard numbers without the filter of emotion. Let's start with the first huge, unavoidable problem, astronomical home prices. As of early 2026, the median sales price for a home in the US is hovering around the $400,000 mark. That's a national median, and in the major cities and their surrounding suburbs, where most of the high-paying jobs are concentrated, that number is way, way higher, often double that. This is not your parents' housing market. Today's prices demand a level of income and savings that is simply unattainable for the majority of hardworking people. Then comes the brutal 1-2 punch, mortgage rates. Even though they've cooled off a bit from their recent dizzying peaks, the average 30-year fixed rate for 2026 is still widely predicted to be in the 6% to 6.4% range. That percentage might not sound terrifyingly high on its own, but when applied to a $400,000 house, it's a devastating financial gut punch every single month month for 30 years. The days of 3% free money mortgages that fueled the last decade are gone, and they aren't coming back anytime soon. This toxic combination of sky-high prices and elevated rates has ignited a massive affordability crisis. In fact, if you dissect the monthly numbers, some recent comprehensive studies have shown that for the 100 biggest US metropolitan areas, renting is now significantly cheaper than owning a comparable starter home. Nationally, homeowners taking on a new mortgage can expect to pay a massive premium every single month compared to what renters pay for similar housing. Just let that sink in. We're talking about thousands upon thousands of dollars per year just for the privilege of saying you own the place. In more expensive coastal cities, that affordability gap can explode to well over $1,500 a month. Now, to be fair and balanced, this trend is most pronounced if you live in or near a major city. Data from research firms like Adam has shown that if you look at the entire country, including all the rural areas, owning can still be marginally cheaper than renting in just over half of US counties. These areas are typically found in the Midwest and parts of the South, where home prices haven't been swept up in the speculative frenzy. So, if you live in one of those specific regions and you are absolutely certain you're not planning on moving for a very, very long time, buying might still be the most logical move for you. But for the millions of us who need to live and work in the major economic hubs to advance our careers, the math has completely and decisively flipped. The premium to own has skyrocketed to the moon, creating a clear and undeniable financial advantage for people who choose to rent smartly and strategically. The question isn't, is renting throwing money away anymore? The real, more urgent question for 2026 is, are the giant unrecoverable costs of owning a home actively preventing you from building real, spendable, life-changing wealth? Because the difference in your monthly cash flow isn't a small gap, it's a gaping canyon, and inside that canyon lies a golden opportunity to build a massive fortune that most people are missing because they're still trying to play by the old, broken rules. Okay, forget the abstract theories and boring spreadsheets for a moment. Let's make this a real-life, practical experiment. Imagine two people, Mike and Sarah. They're both 30 years old, they live in the same major city, they earn the exact same salary, and through years of hard work, they have each managed to save up a respectable $60,000. They stand at a financial crossroads, facing the classic challenge, rent or buy. Mike decides to go the old-school traditional route. He's tired of what he feels is wasted rent money. He wants his piece of the American dream. He finds a modest starter home listed for $400,000. His journey into homeownership begins with what feels like lighting a pile of his money on fire. He puts 10% down, which is a hefty $40,000. Then come the closing costs, a dizzying array of origination fees, appraisals, title insurance, and other boring but expensive line items. That's another 3% of the purchase price, or $12,000. Just like that, in a single afternoon, $52,000 of his $60,000 in savings is gone. He's left with a meager $8,000 emergency cushion. His once healthy bank account is now basically running on fumes. Now let's look at his recurring monthly bills. Mike gets a mortgage for the remaining $360,000. At a 6.3% fixed interest rate, his principal and interest payment is about $2,238 a month. But as any seasoned homeowner will tell you with a weary sigh, that's just the tip of the iceberg. He has property taxes and homeowner's insurance, which easily add another $500 to his monthly nut. Then there's the insidious cost every new buyer forgets or underestimates: maintenance. The conservative rule of thumb is to budget 1% of the home's value per year for upkeep. For Mike's house, that's $4,000 a year, which translates to about $333 a month. Every month, whether something breaks or not. So, Mike's real all-in monthly cost isn't just the mortgage. It's $2,238 plus $500 plus $333, which comes to a crazy $3,071 per month. And this is where the dreaded phantom costs begin their assault. In his second year of ownership, the water heater suddenly explodes. Surprise! That's an unexpected $1,500 bill he has to cover immediately. In year 4, a severe storm damages the roof. That's a $5,000 repair he has to pay for out of pocket while battling his insurance company. His property taxes get reassessed by the county and go up by 10%. These unending costs don't just drain his money, they drain his time, his energy, and his will to live. He is now officially house poor, with all his money and net worth trapped in a single illiquid asset, forcing him to live on a razor-thin budget, constantly praying that nothing else breaks. Now let's pivot to Sarah. She looks at the exact same market, runs the same numbers, and makes a completely different, counterintuitive choice. She decides to continue renting and invest the massive difference in cost. She finds a comparable, very nice apartment to rent for $1,900 a month, a totally realistic price in their city. Her only significant upfront cost is a refundable security deposit, maybe $1,900. She still has an incredible $58,100 of her hard-earned savings. She's financially savvy, so she allocates a healthy $10,000 for her emergency fund. That leaves her with a powerful starting investment of $48,100, which she immediately puts to work in a low-cost, diversified index fund, like one that tracks the S&P 500. But that's just the beginning of her wealth story. Let's compare their monthly cash flow. Mike's total housing cost is $3,071. Sarah's is just $1,900. The difference between them is an insane $1,171 every single month. Sarah, being disciplined, sets up an automatic transfer from her checking account to her brokerage account and invests that entire amount every single month without fail. She doesn't even see it. It's her automatic wealth machine. When her dishwasher breaks, she sends a text to her landlord. It costs her $0 and minimal stress. She has no phantom costs, no surprise bills, just one predictable housing bill. So let's hit the fast forward button and jump ahead 5 years. Who is actually richer? Let's start with Mike. To be fair, his house has probably gone up in value. Let's be generous and say his home appreciated at a historically average rate of 2.2% per year. His $400,000 home is now worth approximately $446,000. On paper, that's a $46,000 gain. Not bad, right? But what about his mortgage? After making 60 payments, he's paid the bank over $134,000. But because of how amortization is front-loaded, most of that money went straight to interest. Only about $22,500 of that massive sum actually went to paying down his loan principal. The other $112,000? Poof, vanished into the bank's coffers, gone forever. So his home equity, the part of the home he actually owns, is the current value minus what he still owes on the loan. $446,000 minus $337,500, which equals $108,500. Now for Sarah. She started with her initial lump sum investment of $48,100. She also diligently invested $1,171 every single month for 60 consecutive months. We'll use a conservative, historically backed stock market average return of 8% per year. This is where the magic of compounding really ignites. Her initial $48,100, growing at 8% over 5 years, would be worth about $70,660. Her consistent monthly investments of $1,171 with that same 8% return would grow to a staggering $86,230. Add them together and Sarah's liquid investment portfolio after just 5 short years is worth an unbelievable $156,890. Let's put those numbers side by side and let them sink in. After 5 years, Mike has $108,500 in home equity. It's technically wealth, but it's trapped inside the walls of his house. To access it, he has to either sell the house and incur massive fees, or take out another loan against it. Sarah, on the other hand, has a liquid, accessible portfolio worth almost $157,000. Her money is working for her 24/7. It's easily accessible and it's diversified across hundreds of the world's best companies, not concentrated in one single house in one single zip code. And she achieved this superior result with far, far less stress and anxiety. This wealth gap between them only gets wider and more dramatic over time. The money Mike is throwing away on mortgage interest, property taxes, and surprise maintenance is the exact same money Sarah is methodically using to build a potential 7-figure fortune. At the beginning of this video, I promised to reveal the biggest phantom cost of owning a home. The truth is, it isn't just one single cost. It's a whole legion of insane, unrecoverable expenses that relentlessly bleed homeowners dry. Think of it as the rent you pay to the bank, the government, and the universe for the privilege of owning your own home. And once you see it, you can never unsee it. The biggest, most evil, wealth-devouring monster of these costs is mortgage interest. On Mike's $360,000 loan over the full 30-year term at 6.3%, he will end up paying over $405,000 in interest alone. That's more than the entire original loan amount. It's absolutely mind-boggling. For the first 10 years of his mortgage, a staggering 70 to 80% of his monthly payment goes straight into the bank's pocket. That money builds zero equity. It is gone forever. It is quite literally throwing money away, but it's cleverly disguised as a smart adult financial move. The second unrecoverable cost is the tag team of property taxes and insurance. These costs never ever go away. Even after you've triumphantly paid off your 30-year mortgage, you will continue writing checks to the local government and an insurance company every single year for the rest of your life. And these costs almost always go up year after year. It's essentially a mandatory forever subscription fee for living in your own house. Third on this list is the endless anxiety-inducing nightmare of maintenance and repairs. That 1% rule of thumb is just the starting point, the best case scenario. A new roof isn't a few $100. It can easily be $15,000. A new HVAC system to keep you cool in the summer and warm in the winter? That could be an $8,000 surprise. A foundation issue that reveals itself as a crack in the wall could quickly become a $20,000 financial disaster. This isn't money you spend to make your home cooler or more valuable. It's money you're forced to spend just to keep your biggest asset from literally falling apart around you. And finally, when you're ready to move on, you have the parting gift of transaction costs. When Mike finally decides to sell his house, he's going to get hit with another giant bill. Real estate commissions are typically 5 to 6% of the home sale price. On his home, which we valued at $446,000, that's another $22,000 to $26,000 that just vanishes into thin air, paid to the agents. A huge chunk of the appreciation he thought he had earned disappears before it ever hits his bank account. When you add it all up, the colossal interest payments, the perpetual taxes, the surprise maintenance, the hefty commissions, you start to realize that being a homeowner means you are effectively running a small, very expensive business with massive, unavoidable operating costs. The myth says renters are the ones throwing money away. The 2026 reality is that homeowners are throwing away a veritable fortune on these phantom costs. The crucial difference is, a smart renter investor like Sarah can take the money they aren't needlessly spending and turn it into a powerful, compounding, wealth-building machine. Now, I know what many of you are probably thinking. You're sitting there, maybe even screaming at your screen, so you're telling me I should never buy a house? That's insane. No, that is absolutely not the point. The purpose here isn't to declare that renting is always and forever superior to buying. It's to completely destroy the default assumption that buying is the only smart financial move for everyone. So let's talk about the situations where buying a home is actually a fantastic wealth-building idea. First and foremost, your time horizon is everything. The math in our case study worked so powerfully for Sarah because the upfront costs of buying a home are so incredibly high. Most financial experts agree that you need to stay in a house for a bare minimum of 7 to 10 years just to break even on those initial and final transaction costs. If you know for a fact that you are going to live in one place for over a decade, maybe even for the rest of your life, the benefits of paying down a mortgage and building forced equity can definitely start to win out over time. Second, as I mentioned earlier, location matters a lot. The rent versus buy equation is hyper-local. If you happen to live in a cheaper area, say in parts of the Midwest or the South, where the all-in monthly cost of owning is actually less than the cost of renting a comparable property, the argument for buying becomes way, way stronger. In that specific scenario, you can live in your asset while it appreciates, for less than the cost of renting. That's a powerful combination. Third, we cannot and should not ignore the non-financial benefits. For some people, the emotional comfort, stability, and control that come with owning are worth the steep price tag. If you have a family and your top priority is staying in one specific high-quality school district for the next 15 years, or if your career is incredibly stable and you never want to move again, that peace of mind can be truly priceless. You can't always put a dollar value on the feeling of home. And finally, what about the biggest counterargument of all? But my rent will always go up, year after year, while my 30-year fixed mortgage payment stays the same. That's absolutely true, and locking in your housing cost is a huge advantage of owning. It's a fantastic hedge against inflation. But people who make this argument often forget two crucial things. First, while Sarah's rent might go up by, say, 3% a year, her investment portfolio is growing at a projected 8% or more. Her wealth is growing significantly faster than her housing expenses. Second, a homeowner's total payment isn't really fixed. As we discussed, property taxes and homeowner's insurance almost always go up, sometimes dramatically, which means your total monthly housing payment will inevitably rise over time too. The choice to buy a home isn't purely about money, but you have to be disciplined enough to separate the emotional dream from the cold, hard financial reality of 2026. The goal is to make a conscious choice with your eyes wide open, not one based on societal pressure or outdated old-school rules. Beyond the pure compelling numbers is the most valuable prize that Sarah, our savvy renter investor, has truly won: freedom. In today's fast-paced, ever-changing world, the ability to adapt, pivot, and move is its own form of wealth. It's a financial superpower. Think about the incredible value of career mobility. A dream job opportunity opens up in another city, offering a 30% raise and a huge promotion. For Sarah, this is an easy, exciting decision. She gives her landlord 30 days notice, packs her bags, and she's gone, ready to level up her career and income. For Mike, the homeowner, this same opportunity presents a total nightmare. He is faced with a terrible choice. Either he has to rush to sell his house and pay all those hefty transaction fees, possibly at a bad time in the market, or he has to become a reluctant long-distance landlord, which is a stressful, time-consuming second job he never wanted. He is literally anchored to a zip code by his mortgage. His house owns him more than he owns it. Then there's the equally important lifestyle flexibility. When Sarah is single, her one-bedroom apartment is perfect. If she gets a partner, they can easily move into a bigger two-bedroom place with almost zero friction. If they decide to have kids, they can rent a house with a yard in a good school district. When the kids eventually move out, they can downsize to a cool downtown condo with a view. Their housing can expand and contract perfectly as their life changes, with minimal cost and hassle. For Mike to do any of that, he has to sell his current home, pay tens of thousands of dollars in fees, and then start the whole exhausting, expensive buying process all over again, every single time his life circumstances change. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, there's the mental freedom. Sarah doesn't spend her weekends wandering the aisles of Home Depot pricing out lawnmowers. She isn't jolted awake at 2 a.m. by the sound of a leaky pipe, her mind racing, wondering if it's a $500 problem or a $5,000 catastrophe. She isn't constantly stressing about fluctuating interest rates or the local housing market. Her wealth is liquid, diversified across the global economy, and growing quietly in the background. Her home is simply a place she lives, a service she pays for, not a primary source of unending anxiety. That freedom from financial worry is an insane, immeasurable dividend. For generations, the American dream was symbolized by a house with a white picket fence. But the world of 2026 demands a new dream and a new playbook. This conversation isn't about declaring that renting is always better than buying for everyone. It's about completely destroying the dangerous myth that owning a home is the only path to getting rich. The numbers, when you look at them honestly, do not lie. For millions of people, especially in today's high-priced, high-rate market, the massive premium you pay to own a house is a monumental opportunity cost. That significant difference between the crazy all-in cost of owning and the simpler cost of renting, that's not money thrown away. That is the seed money for your financial freedom. It's the capital you can use to build real, liquid, life-changing wealth. The ultimate goal isn't just to own a house. The real goal is to build wealth and live a life filled with options, freedom, and security. And in 2026, for many of us, the smartest, most efficient way to do that is to rent where you live, invest the difference aggressively, and let your money go to work for you around the clock. You can build an incredible fortune without ever having to fix a leaky roof or mow a lawn. So what do you think? After seeing the real numbers crunched, are you on team homeowner or are you on team rent and invest? I want to hear your story in the comments below. Every situation is unique, and I read the comments to see what you guys are experiencing out there in the real world. And if this video blew your mind and challenged your old beliefs, make sure you subscribe for more videos that destroy old school money rules. It's time we all start building wealth on our own terms, not on the terms set by our grandparents' generation.